In this episode of the Butt Chronicles, we check out Beavis and Butthead, episode 13, Sick.
Welcome to Industrial Industries World Radio's The Butt Chronicles.
You said welcome.
Oh God.
Hey, what's up, ladies and gentlemen and friends everywhere? Welcome to the Butt Chronicles, your audio guide to everything Beavis and Butthead. And I'm your host, DJ Glowing Ice. And today we are taking a look at Beavis and Butthead episode 13, titled Sick. It first aired on May 20th, 1993 on MTV, and that's all you need to know. So what happens in this episode? Well, let's check it out. We start out in Beavis and Butthead's house, as both of the boys are sitting on the couch eating cheese puffs. As they eat, their noses are stuffed and runny with snot. Beavis blows his nose into a TV guide, leaving a big wad of snot between two pages. "Ooh, big one," says Beavis. Cut to Beavis and Butthead's TV as they watch a man cautioning that the leading prescription cold remedy is more than 70% alcohol. From watching this, the boys get the idea that they need to see a doctor. But not before Beavis blows another giant wad of snot into his hand. Butthead, looking at Beavis's big wad of snot, says, "Cool." We then cut to an emergency room waiting area inside of a hospital. All kinds of people are sitting in chairs looking really injured and bloody all over. Beavis and Butthead are sitting in the far right side of the room by the reception window. An older balding man is walking around in a daze. He has a fork stuck in his head that's dripping with blood. He has an oven mitt in one hand, tongs with a cooked burger patty in the other, along with a cook apron that reads, "Kiss the cook." Between this old man yelling in a confused state, a close-up shot shows his face. He says, "Who wants cheese on? Medium? Medium well?" The boys look at the confused man, laugh, and Butthead says, "That's cool." The nurse at the front window then rings a bell, announcing that number 83 is up next. The nurse is a younger woman with blonde hair, blue eyes, and a lot of blue eye makeup. The man with the fork in his head happens to have the number 83 ticket. The man makes his way to the front counter, still confused, and he says to the nurse, "Pickles?" and then drops the 83 ticket on the floor, which we then see Beavis picking up the ticket. As the man tells the nurse that he has a fork stuck in his head, he's pushed out of the way by Beavis and Butthead. "We're number 83, and we need the leading subscription cold remedy," Butthead says to the nurse. Beavis then blows snot into his shirt. "I have not gone on break in 2 hours and 15 minutes, says the nurse, as she takes a puff from her cigarette. She then asks, "And what is your problem?" Beavis blows his nose again, leaving a big wad of snot in his hand. "We're sick," answers Beavis. The nurse tells the boys to head to room 7, get into their underpants, and wait for the doctor. We then see Beavis and Butthead waiting in room 7, as both of them are sitting on the examination table. Butthead tells Beavis a joke. "And so the doctor says, wrecked him? It nearly killed him." Beavis sneezes and pulls his underwear up to his nose to blow it. "Nice wedgie, dude," Butthead says, as Beavis stands up on the table to show his butt with his underwear pulled up. "Look, it's a thong," Beavis says. "That's cool," says Butthead. Then suddenly, the door to the room opens up to the doctor standing in the doorway. The doctor is a hot chick with big thingies, but very professional with her job. "So you boys have bad colds, right?" the doctor says warmly. Beavis and Butthead, now embarrassed, sit on the examination table, attempting to cover themselves. Butthead says to Beavis, "She saw your butt." "Shut up," says Beavis. "We have bad colds. Probably like ammonia or something," Butthead tells the doctor. "We need rest, fluids, and the leading description cold remedy," adds Beavis. The doctor tells Butthead, hop up on the table so I could have a quick look in your ear." Butthead then pulls down his underwear, gets on his hands and knees, and exposes his butt to the doctor. The doctor clarifies to Butthead that what she meant was in his ear, not in his rear. Butthead cringes with embarrassment as Beavis laughs and says, "You could call him Crisco, 'cause he's fat in a can." Butthead then fights Beavis on the table. As the scuffle goes on, the doctor wants to cut the visit short, so she decides to give each of the boys a shot of antibiotics so they feel better quickly. The boys looking disappointed, Butthead then asks, "No leading inscription cold remedy? No wild cherry or cool grape goodness?" asks Beavis. "No, I never prescribe that stuff. It tends to make patients kinda lightheaded," says the doctor, as she then injects Butthead with the medicine. Butthead yells from the injection. "Homeowner," Beavis calls Butthead as he laughs. "Sometimes they get high, or even hallucinate," adds the doctor, as she then injects Beavis, and Beavis also yells. As the doctor's now finished and she makes her way out of the room, she tells the boys to get dressed and that the nurse will be back with their bill. Hearing about a bill, the boys make a run for it out the hospital, through some side doors and into an alleyway. The alley has garbage cans full of used syringes and needles. Now outside, Beavis and Butthead are standing in their underwear. Butthead says, "This sucks. No medicine, no buzz, nothing." Beavis says, "Yeah, I'm starting to feel better. What a ripoff." The boys walk off screen, as the man with the fork in his head pops out from one of the garbage cans asking, "Honey, where's the pickles?" Next we see Beavis and Butthead. They're standing outside in an open field, and Beavis has a toad in his mouth as Butthead says, "If this toad-licking thing works, we're not going to even need the leading conniption cold remedy." "Anything yet?" Butthead asks Beavis. With the toad in his mouth, Beavis licks and answers Butthead in mumbles. "Are you sure you're licking it right?" asks Butthead. Beavis then spits out the toad, and the toad hops away. Beavis says, "Tastes like chicken." The boys both laugh, and then they look for the toad again, saying, "Here, toady toady." And that's the end of Beavis and Butthead, episode 13, Sick. Now let's check out the music videos. First up, we got Motley Crue with Dr. Feelgood. Beavis says the video tells a message. "Yeah, the message is, Vince Neil is a wuss," says Butthead. "That guy from Danzig can kick his ass," Beavis says. Butthead says that the video needs chicks, then it would be cool. The next video we have Billy Idol with Dancing with Myself, and Beavis says that Billy Idol does everything by himself. Butthead says that he detects masturbatory overtones. The boys sing along with the song, but they change the line "dancing with myself" to "playing with myself." Next we got New Kids on the Block with Hangin' Tough. The boys look disgusted, and Butthead says, "It's those dudes on Stewart's lunchbox." The boys suggest that Ice Cube should come onto the video and kick every member of the music group. The last video we have is Alice in Chains with Them Bones. The video shows a newborn baby, and Beavis says, "Whoa, a baby." Butthead says, "How did that happen?" "These guys are pissed off," says Butthead. "Yeah, they got a bad attitude," replies Beavis. "That's cool," says Butthead. And that's it for the music videos. Now let's check out the fun facts. Alright, so this episode got censored a little bit after its first airing, so there's a couple things that got edited, so let's check it out. The first thing was when Butthead got a shot and he yelled. And this is when it prompted Beavis to call Butthead a homeowner. In later episodes, Beavis saying homeowner was then changed to saying what a wuss to Butthead. And then the second thing that was censored were when the music videos were going on, the boys referencing fire. So any reference of fire they cut out during the music video segments. This episode was officially released on the highly rare The History of Beavis and Butthead VHS and DVD set. Sick is the 8th episode of Season 2 of Beavis and Butthead and the 13th episode overall. And IMDb, the Internet Movie Database, gives Beavis and Butthead, Sick, a 7.3 out of 10 rating. Now, I'll give you my review. My relationship with this episode is, I remember seeing the part way back in the day, probably when it first aired, the first couple of airings. I just remember the frog in Beavis's mouth and he spat it out, and him saying that it tastes like chicken. That was the first time I ever heard that line that is said plenty of times elsewhere besides Beavis and Butthead, that, you know, if you eat frog legs or if you eat whatever kind of weird dish somewhere, be like, oh, it tastes just like chicken. But that was my first reference of that line, was from this episode as a kid. So anytime anybody ever says, oh, it tastes just like chicken, I just think of this episode. But anything else in this episode, from the fork in the guy's head or them being at the hospital or anything, it was a complete blank. It didn't even exist in my memory. So it practically felt like a brand new episode to me. So the animation and everything, it still has that same kind of gritty feel, and it's not bad. I'm getting to like these raw and gritty animated early episodes. One of the run-on jokes in this episode is that the boys change up the word prescription when they talk about the medicine to so many different things throughout this episode. I felt that was a nice touch. It lets you know the wide vocabulary that Beavis and Butthead actually do have. And then we got the nurse that is just complaining that she's worked 2 whole hours and 15 minutes and she needs to get on a break, and she's just smoking. Just really doesn't care about anything besides herself. That's a nice little touch. That's a very heartwarming touch to me. This episode kind of made me feel a little weird, though, because I never really seen Beavis and Butthead almost completely naked. And it shows a lot, and it's just basically their bare butts, but it's just a lot more than I was used to seeing or remembering back in the day. The music video segments were very solid, very good, and mixed with the episode, it's not the best or the funniest, but it was decent. So I'm going to have to give this episode 6.5 out of 10. It's not the worst, it's not the best, it's definitely rewatchable. And that's it. So there you go. 6.5 for Beavis and Butthead, episode 13, Sick.